All right, so this video is gonna hopefully help you guys understand my methods. And you gotta remember that even though I don't have like 20 or 30 years in the game, I got the better part of a decade doing this now. So over the years, especially as business picks up, I tweak and refine things to try and make things as easy and quick, as hassle-free as possible. Now with that, I want to start off with saying something else real quick, just to get it out of the way, because it's been a trend recently. I don't understand why. But I've had a lot of people recently asking me to DM them, like, hey, DM me, I want to buy something. DM me, I want to buy something. You know, as a grown man, or just as a person in general, people have those tics that are kind of weird. Like, something happens in a situation they get caught in, and it's not necessarily inappropriate or anything, or even directly offensive, but it kind of like sets you off, like, oh, I don't like that. You know, like certain words, you know, like will set people off. So, it's one of those things where I'm finding myself in a scenario where I really don't like it. Plus, one, I think it's kind of silly and weird. Like, I don't do house calls. My business is, you know, despite the fact that I don't have a store for you to come to, my store is online. So if you want to come to me to buy something, to shop with me, come to me, come to message me, come into my messages. I have enough people already trying to talk to me for me to go to you, to look for you, to try and sell you something. Like, hey, I'm here, buddy. What do you want to buy? So, you know, like when somebody's standing there and they come in and they got their hand on their shoulder or their hip and they're like, you know, like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, fuck you, don't finger me. You don't tell me to come to you like that. I ain't your bitch or whatever. So it's one of those things where it's not necessarily offensive. I could definitely see how somebody would be like, what's the big deal there? But for me, it's kind of fucking weird. Like, don't ask me to hop in your DMs. It's been happening a lot on Facebook and Instagram. People ask me to DM them. No, if you want to buy something from me, come to me. I rotate. It's like I go through my messages every couple of hours. So if I miss you, I'm going to catch you. If I miss you when you DM me right away, I'll catch you down the line. And I answer everybody, unless it's just a lot of back and forth. And then I'll tend to just walk away from that conversation after a while. I'm like, all right, that's it. I've given my all. Not going any further. And so again, like if I didn't already just say that, but if you hear me pissing and moaning and bringing things up, it's not because of one person setting me off. It's just because it becomes a trend. And I'm like, all right, we need to address this. Okay, so there's that. All right, now, so explaining this video, right? I told you guys back in the day that I used to do everything in my power to possibly, you know, bring you the cheapest build. So every time somebody was asking me for something, I'd be like, yo, what's your budget? And then I would find the cheapest, safest route to get you to where you wanted to be. I can't do that anymore because I have way too many people hitting me up and asking me questions all the time. And there are still plenty of combos and scenarios that I don't already have mapped out. And it's why it bothers me to sit and take the time, sometimes 30 to 45 minutes, planning out a build for you to just walk away from. I don't like that. That bothers me very much. So to make things easier for me, one of the first things I did that helped was I brought all my parts down to a certain thing. Like, I use the same parts, you know, for specific builds. If you want a 500 or less wool horsepower build, that's your goal. There's a very good chance you're going to be getting cast pistons and scat H-beams. Scat H-beams are given up to, like, they're good for 700, 750 horsepower. So anything you're going to get from that range and below, you're going to get those rods if you want aftermarket rods. That's the way it is. That's how I build my engines. That's what I build my engines with, right? If you're looking at 500 wool horsepower and below, you're going to get a cast piston most likely. Now, can you upgrade to a forge? Yes, but when they're twice the price of the cast, and you're not going to really be able to benefit with having those pistons versus the cast pistons, then why not use the cast pistons? Now, if you're building a K-Series, we know that the K-Series stock sleeves handle fuck tons more power than a B or a D does. So if you want to if you're going to go stock sleeves and you want forged pistons, then by all means, yes, for that case and scenario, I will gladly set a, you know, but I already have that build set aside too. Like, I already have a set planned build to give you a number for that kind of project, right? So the whole thing is like the majority, like 9 out of 10 times when people come to me, it's usually 500 wool horsepower or lower power goal, right? You know, in the past 2 years, I've sold forged pistons twice and installed forged pistons 3 times. One person came to me that had their own that they bought somewhere else and sent me everything they had to build. And then 2 other guys, we decided to go that route. One of the 2, he just wanted the extra safety cushion just in case he wanted to push a little bit past 500. And then the other guy, well, I don't remember. So I don't remember the details there. I mean, I'm sure if the guys messaged me or whatever, I would remember it at that point. but I don't remember off the hand what the other scenario was. But those are the only 3 times in the past 2 years that I have sold forged pistons, right? Now, so with that being the case, and those being the 500 wheel horsepower and lower, guys, because it tends to make sense too anyway. I understand you're spending a lot of money. You want to go to a more reputable shop or whatever. That's fine. I'm not offended. I'll get to that point where I'll be your, one of the top choices someday. But right now, I'm okay with my situation and my standing in the community. And I understand when people come to me, they're usually coming to me because they want to make power on a budget. All right. I'm your guy for that. That's no problem. This is my niche for right now. So now there are still quite a bit of people who freak the fuck out when I give them a $1,500 quote for a short block. This is a short block. This is the engine block, the engine crankshaft installed with pistons and rods. That's $1,500. I think that's an extremely fair price, considering the fact that almost half of the price of that is parts and shipping. All right. Now, I didn't break down here what the cost of things are because I have that in my fucking head already, right? So, ACL race bearings, generally speaking, are between $95, or ACL / King race bearings are between $95 to $105. So $100 there, right? A Scat H beams cost $330. $330 there. So we're at $430. Now, pistons, if you want to go the budget route, you're going cast. So you're either going to spend $225 or $240 if you're going for B20 pistons. B20 pistons are bigger. That's more material, so they cost a little bit more money, right? So, so you're already $600+ right there, closing in very close to $700. Now, factoring the cost of shipping plus the insurance and all that shit for me to get it out to you, make sure you get it safe. And if you don't get it safe, we can do something about it, right? Because I do insure everything at the price of what it is worth now, just in case we have a fuck up. I've had enough incidents with FedEx that I don't trust them to just get it there safe. Now, of course, more often than not, there's no issue with the shipping, but every once in a while, something does come up. And thankfully, up to this point, we have not had a case bad enough where we needed to use the insurance. But if and when that case and scenario ever does come up, I will be ready because it is properly insured now. So the shipping also costs anywhere between $100 to even upwards to $150. Now, I know that my account discount kicks in there, but it's individually based. Like my account discount goes to every line item, so I don't get a discount as a whole. So of course, the bigger the ticket, the bigger that discount is. But again, it's this discounts individually, so it doesn't take out as much overall as you might imagine it does. All right. So if we got about $800 now between shipping and parts, then we have to consider the fact that you got to get the short block and you got to get the crank. Now, you're not sending me a core. Only one person ever has. All right. So, as far as shipping me, now I have done local builds, and usually when I do local builds, people bring me things because it saves money. Because I do charge $500 for my core fee. All right. So now here's the thing, right? The block and the crankshaft. So I have to go out and find it. So I have to get on fucking social media. I have to try and haggle the price out. And then generally speaking, I'm usually traveling 1 hour in one direction to go pick this thing up, and hoping that everything is good and copacetic enough to be able to use as a standard bore block. All right. So there's that. Now, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if we add in the $500 for the core fee, plus all the parts and shipping from there, that's already $1,300. So the remaining amount for your balance is $200 to get to the $1,500 mark. Now, that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. Now, if you're thinking, well, Chris, you're not necessarily paying $500 for your block and crank. You're right. I'm not necessarily paying that much money for my block and crank, but that is where a lot of my money comes in. So if there's $200 left over after the cost of parts, and I only paid like $150 for mine, so you're looking at like a profit base of around $400. Now, of course, I do have my discount from the manufacturer of the parts I buy, but despite the fact that the discount is healthy, for those part, it's not enormous enough for me to say that I'm making fuck tons of profit on this. All right. So generally speaking, I'll clear $500, maybe $600 on this. And this is, like I said, a 3 to 4 week process. And it's not, 3 to 4 weeks of just steady building, but I have to go out and get a block. Now, if it's already assembled, I have to take it apart. That's labor time, right? Not really getting paid for that. Even if I do it really fast, that could take upwards to an hour, right? Now, even if I don't get it assembled and I don't have to take anything apart, you still got usually 9 out of 10 times the block is fucking disgusting. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see plenty of before and afters what I get, what the blocks look like. Usually they're soaked in grime and disgusting oil and all kinds of shit. And then that takes me time to clean. So that's also labor time that I'm not necessarily getting charged, that I'm charging for. So when I say it takes time to assemble your engine, right, that first week is ordering the parts. I'm waiting for the parts to come in. Then I'm, dealing with people online to haggle the price for a block if I don't already have one. And even if I already have one, that has already been done, so that still counts for that block. Then I have to agree to a time and a place and go out and meet this person to pick up. And then all the labor time from disassembling, cleaning, and then, of course, once it's cleaned, I have to dry everything out real well, make it look pretty, prep it, hone it, and then every once in a while, it's a once in a blue moon type situation, I'll have a deck that has got just enough warpage in it for me to not really feel comfortable with the amount of money that you're spending. So I will take the fucking hit and fucking have the block deck. Sometimes. It depends. Now, if I'm going into the situation where I'm going to look for it and I don't already have it, then whatever. But if I already have the block in hand and I didn't do my due diligence and check it before I told you I had one, then that's on me and that's not on you. So again, not a lot of wiggle room. But this is a sacrifice I'm willing to do to sell you a budget engine block. Now, again, budget being the key. The whole point of this scenario is to look for a block with a healthy enough standard bore that it can be used again. Now, are there little imperfections in these blocks sometimes? Yeah, but nothing that I would never sell anything to somebody that I fear is going to be an issue. So, if it's something that I say I'm looking at that I'm saying it's good to go, then it's good to go. Because if some case of craziness happens, then I'm there to try and help you out, or to help you out. And any kind of, again, if anything kind of crazy pops up and something needs to be taken care of. Thankfully, that's never been the case. None of these blocks have ever come back with any issues, right? So, now to talk about machine work, right? Now, again, I have an idea for you guys, and I put it out there. So, again, we're keeping it budget. If you want machine work, I've said we can always add that in, but, that's always been a little bit of an issue for me for two reasons that I'll talk about in a second. But as far as the higher horsepower, once you cross that 500 horsepower threshold, especially if you're looking at CSS or whatnot, the machine work is already factored in, because at that point, when you're looking at that kind of power, I want things to be as precise as possible. Now, am I willing to sell you a standard bore 700 horsepower K-Series or even 800 horsepower K-Series? Yeah, I could see myself doing that. But if you want to go CSS and you're going for really big power, generally speaking, I've already factored in the cost of machine work into the price tag I've given you. So my biggest issue here is my local machine shop, the guy that's like 0.5 miles away, it's a half a mile away from me down the road, and probably like a quarter mile as the crow flies, is not very reliable in the time turnaround. The last time I had them bore and hone a block for me, it took them almost half a year. They're really good for decking, head resurfacing, cleaning, pressing pistons, shit like that. Small stuff, generally speaking, it's a 24-hour turnaround. I take them a lot of work recently, so it seems like the more work I take them, the faster they get to me. But there's been plenty of times where it's been like a week or more, even for the small jobs. So that's the number one factor that I have that's a problem with them, right? Another thing, the secondary thing is you're paying a lot of money. The cost is pretty high, so their turnaround time is garbage for a bore and hone, and it's also a little bit more expensive than I would like it to be. But of course, it is what it is. There's not like when I charge you guys machine labor, I'm not taxing you on that. I'm charging you whatever the machine shop is charging me, so I'm not making any money on that. So when you hear me throw in like several $100s for machine work, I'm not getting anything out of that. That's all the machine shop. It's all for you, the machine shop. That's got nothing to do with me. I'm just being the go for back and forth. Like, technically, I could throw a $20 to $30 fucking charge on there for me for my fucking time running back and forth and doing this shit. And there's a lot of times on the smaller jobs, the smaller machine work, like picking up pistons or whatnot, that I have a wife do it for me because time is of the essence, right? Especially more and more nowadays. So, just to give a rundown on what the local machine shop charges for these prices, right? It's to deck the block, they charge $150. It used to be $100, went up $50. It's $150 to deck a block. That's pretty fucking expensive, I think. $100 is reasonable, very reasonable. $150, expensive, is what it is, though. All right, bore and hone with a torque plate It's $185. Now they do, some of the engines, they don't have a torque plate for or whatever, so they only charge $150 for that. But if they have the torque plate for it, generally speaking, I'm going to have them throw on the torque plate. So it's $185. And to wash the block, to jet wash the block, to really get in there and do the thing, like, you know, if you're going to have them cut the block and all that shit, there's going to be shavings and shit everywhere. So the best thing to do would have them hot take the block afterwards. They charge $225 for that. It's a lot of fucking money. They tried to get me on that one time. I'm like, nah, give me my block back. I will clean it myself. Thank you very much. So, if you're looking at that total, just the machine work, just from deck, bore and hone, jet wash, is $560. All right? There's, yeah, $560 is how much, that's just the machine cost, right? Now, if you take that $560 and add that to the $1,500 short block, that short block is now $2,060. Not looking so budget friendly anymore, because now you're spending, you know, $2,000, spending over $2,000, almost $2,100 for a budget short block, you know, and again, 500 horsepower is very impressive and is very powerful. I mean, my personal fastest I've ever had was 440. So, and it moves, like it'll kill most of anything on the street. But still, people expect everything to be mad cheap because it's Honda and they're used to buying shit on Facebook that's really cheap. So I tried to accommodate the market by giving you a very budget-friendly option. All right. Now, one of the things I talked about before was saying that CSS has cheaper machine shop labor fees, and their turnaround is faster. So it actually benefit me to ship your block out to New Hampshire, even if you're not getting CSS work done, to have the machine the block and send it back. So now CSS charges $350 for deck, bore and hone, and jet wash. $350, right? That's fantastic. That's much better. It's a whole lot better. Super fair price. Now, even if you charge, even the $60 to ship one way, $60 to ship back to $120 round trip, so $470 to do all the machine work versus the $560, and the chances of you getting it in a 1 month turnaround time are pretty fucking high. So if that's what you want to do, we could do that. I just haven't asked Jeff to do it yet. I wouldn't see why he'd be opposed to it. So it's not something, that's why I didn't have it as an option, right? So I guess that if you want to do it like that, if you want to do CSS machine work without getting the CSS done, then the block would be $1,970. And I still think it errs on the side of budget friendly because it's fully rebuilt for big power and fully machined. So you'll have like 100% brand new block and less than $2,000. So that's what we can do if you want to do guys like that. But now here's the other thing, if you got to understand too, CSS and machine work, right? Now CSS. Now when you think CSS, everybody thinks, well, CSS is only $350. Well, CSS is only $420 for the high horsepower one. So why is CSS so expensive when you're selling the bare blocks or whatnot? Well, you got to think the core for the block, the shipping the block out, shipping the block back, and the CSS installation, right? So if the block core is $500, block, you know, and I'm still going to charge the same for that. I don't care. That is what it is. So I'm charging the block core $500, and the machine work is $350. So you got to add that and add a shipping, and it's shipping 3 ways now, not just 2. I got to ship the CSS, ship back to me, and ship to you when you buy it. All right. So if you were, let's say you were going to get the budget friendly block, but you want CSS, so you're not just adding the price of the CSS, and you're also adding the price of machine work, because when they install the CSS, it doesn't. You're not sitting 100% flush. What makes it 100% perfectly flush is when they shave it. They deck the block afterwards. So you install the CSS and then they deck it, and that's when you have a perfectly smooth surface. I checked it. I was curious. I wanted to see if it's that flush or not. So when the CSS block came back from being CSS to B18, I put the fucking, I put my straight edge on there. It is not straight. It has to be decked. All right. And then, and of course they recommend bore and hone. Now I haven't put a fucking bore gauge in there yet to see exactly what it's looking like post the CSS installation. I would like to bet that it would probably be able to be run on stock bore. And because when Jeff was talking to me the very first time, he said we recommend. He didn't say you have to. So there's that. But of course, you know, you're doing a lot of spending a lot of money to get it where it's reinforced for big power. They might as well bore and hone anyway. So when you're looking at a build for the bore and hone, it's $350 for the CSS, and that's the basic CSS, and $350 for the machine work, and then $120 shipping there and back. Oh, so it's that's $820. So if you're getting a budget-friendly block, a budget-friendly block that's only, the pistons are only good for 500. And if you push beyond that, it's whatever, but I don't recommend it. You could, a very good chance you lose a ringland. Now, the K-Series pistons are rated for a lot higher horsepower than the other ones are, but I still, I don't know. Until I do that myself personally, I'm not going to tell people to do that. So anyway, you get yourself a $1,500 budget short block, and now you want to do the CSS process. Now, do the CSS, you also got to do the machine work. You got to do the bore and hone and deck and all that shit, right? So $820 added to it. So now you're looking at $2,320 for a block that's only really good for 500. Because just because the fact that the cylinder walls will go past 500 with no problem, your pistons hold you back. Now, if you want to upgrade pistons, now you're looking at a block that's not budget friendly anymore. You're looking at a 700 horsepower block. That's a different category. You're not a budget friendly turbo build anymore. Now you're a 700 horsepower turbo build. And at that point, it's a $320 bump. So you're looking at $2,640 for a full-blown CSS B or D or whatever, not a K, but a B or D. So at that point, you're looking at over $2,600. You're very close to the $3,000 mark, because it is what it is. But I know it's long-winded, but I hope fucking some of you guys, especially the ones of you guys that are actually trying to buy from me, are paying attention to this shit to understand exactly what's going on here. Yeah, so that's really it. Social media links will be in the description down below. Hit me up, guys. But just, like I said in that really short video earlier, I've had people come to me and they throw money at something, and then it seems like after they throw the money, they're asking me questions about it. I'm like, you don't understand what the fuck it is you just bought, bro? Like, why you just commit to spend, thousands of dollars on some shit that you don't even really know how it works or operates? You got to understand what this block can do, how this block is supposed to be run, what to expect in performance, whether it's dailyable, all these things come into consideration when you're buying an engine block. Don't just throw money at it because you think it's cool. Like, understand what it is that you're buying. That's what I mean when I say understand what you're buying. And if you're adamant, like if you're going into this and you're like, hey, machine work's got to be a thing, then that's got to be a thing. Don't come to me and be like, well, what do you think? I would like machine work, but what do you think? Because I just told you what I think. The $1,500 short block is there to run on a standard board to be good for your pockets. If you're trying to get machine work and you want machine work, don't be on the fence about it, bro, because that frustrates me. Because I will tell you, if I'm not going to sell you a block with a standard bore if I think that it's not good to go. Like, I'm going to say, hey, I don't think this is good to go. We need to go up. Or, hey, I need to find you another block. So that's the things to consider. Like, don't be like, hey, what do you think? I'm already telling you what I think by offering it to sell, because if I didn't think it was good, I wouldn't be offering it to sell it to you. So if you're coming in, you're like, hey, I want a brand new block. Let's just get the bullshit. Let's get the machine work and all that. Then come with me on that. Then come into it like that. Like, hey, look, this is what we need to do. And stick with that. Don't be on the fence back and forth, because once I get to the point where I'm sitting down to make you the invoice to send you, like, that's it, bro. We're in this. I don't want, and then to exchange hands, to exchange money, and then to have like a million questions after we already start getting into it, that frustrates the fuck out of me. Like, guys, I'm not big on offering people their money back, but the other day I had a situation where I'm like, I'm going to give this dude your money. I'm going to give you your money back because I'm just done. I'm frustrated. I have enough shit on my fucking plate, bro. I can't baby step you through everything. You're not the only customer, bro. Plenty of other people trying to do shit. And plenty of people out there are paying all their money up front and still waiting, versus somebody that's making payments, barely making payments, because $100 or $200 a month, what the fuck is that? That's probably going to go away. That's not going to stay there forever, guys. I might still do, no interest financing and whatnot. I might do the in-house financing for you guys that want on a budget. But I think I'm going to start requiring a lot more money, or a bigger deposit, or probably maybe like a $500 deposit or cost of rotating assembly deposit. And then after that, it's probably going to be $500 a month, $100 a week, because there's some of you guys that the time stretches so long and it's malingering, and then you get it in your head, well, I'm buying something, I'm a customer, so I should be able to ask whatever the fuck I want because I'm the customer. It doesn't work that way, man. You're not special because you're buying an engine block from me. Plenty of people do that. All right, so I can't spend all my time coddling you, reassuring you of what it is you're buying. You have faith and confidence in what you're buying, know what you're going to get, expect what's going to come of it. Don't ask me a million questions about it. If you don't understand what it is you're buying, I'd rather just not have you as a customer. Go somewhere else or experiment and build your own block. All right, so that's it. Social media links will be in the description below. If you can, guys can hit me up, ask me questions. If I get to the point, hey, I don't want to bother you, whatever. When you start getting to the point when you're bothering me, I'm just going to disappear on you for a while. And it's not me being rude. It's just me. It's me taking myself out of the conversation before I get to the point where I'm being rude. So if I'm still talking to you, know that I'm not trying to be rude to you ever. So there's sometimes I know that context can be lost in text where I may come off rude or impatient, but trust me, I'm not there yet. If I get to that point where I'm frustrated with you, I'm going to step aside, or usually I'll send you a voice recording. Honestly, if we're going to exchange money and it gets to the point where the conversation is going to get pretty heavy, Instagram is probably the best way to hit me up because I can just click the button real easy and do the voice messages. I just discovered on Facebook business page they have the voice record too, but for some reason the sound, the quality comes out really shitty, and I don't like it so much. As far as the Instagram, when you do the Instagram messaging, it sounds just like a fucking phone call. So yeah, I might get a work phone if the volume keeps up. This might just be a stimulus / tax money rush. So if it dies back down, it's not a big deal. But if it stays at this volume, I might get a secondary phone. And if I do get a work phone, it's still not going to be like on the website for you guys to hit me up. I still think the DMs work for the most part, but there are situations more often than not nowadays where I'm getting into business with people where it's just easier for me to be able to use a phone to call. But I don't want to give out my number to just random people because I don't know when people are going to come through or not. I like my phone number. I've had it for 3 years. I don't want to get rid of it. And I don't want it floating around out there for just random people to hit me up whenever the fuck, especially people that aren't buying anything. Social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.